Our last notice of motion is from Councillor Brenner, second by Councillor Nagy. It's regards to commemorating Gordon Lightfoot. Many know that there's an area of Pickering that has streets named after him. So the operative clauses, notwithstanding CUL public art policy, staff be directed through the office of CA to undertake a commission of public art to be installed in Ernie Stroud Park, celebrate the life of Gordon Lightfoot. The mayor will be requesting a city inclusion of $60,000 in the 2024 budget and be funded from public art reserve. That is per section 801 of CUL 130 public art. There will be commissioned through the issuance of a call in the community. Consultation be undertaken with 3 top right public art jury selections prior to finalizing the artist selection. Mr. Brenner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank staff for their input into putting this together to ensure that it follows due process, proper process, and proper engagement. I think it's really self-explanatory, and I'll ask for a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to speak a little bit to this item. Councillor Brenner and I spoke about this way back when, when Gordon Lightfoot passed, which was unfortunate. I think that was like back in May. And at that time, Councillor Brenner had asked me to second the motion, which I had agreed to. And then last week, I was speaking with Councillor Brenner and I was to second it. And, you know, I read through the motion. It said that we had to spend $60,000 on a piece of artwork in memory of Gordon Lightfoot to go in front of Steeple Hill, as it is in the Ward 1 community boundary. And unfortunately, just last week, I had to respectfully decline because, again, as I mentioned in my previous speeches tonight, that I cannot justify spending $60,000 on a piece of artwork when we have more pressing issues such as lineups at the food banks, people facing tough choices between, again, you know, their essential needs like putting gas in their car, putting healthy food on the table for their families, and the rising homeless problem that we are having heading into fall and winter months. Once again, people can't pay their rent or their mortgage, and some are also going to be losing their homes because they can't afford the inflated bank rates when they're renewing their mortgage. And so we're going to see a real big increase in the homeless here in Pickering and beyond very, very soon. So I think, as I mentioned before, I think it's really important to prioritize the well-being of our residents, especially during these challenging times. And while art is undoubtedly valuable, it may be more appropriate to allocate these funds towards immediate needs and support systems for our community. By addressing the urgent matters like providing healthy meals, access to transportation, and shelter for those in need, we can help alleviate the hardships faced. And I know strategically, I am confident that we can maneuver funds from one department to another to prioritize helping these people of Pickering, to put their needs first and foremost. So last week I mentioned to Councillor Brenner that I had been speaking with the developer who is looking to build right across the street of Steeple Hill. So we're talking the National Sports Plaza, or I guess you call it a sports check right now, in that plaza. I was speaking to that developer and he said that he would be willing to erect a piece of artwork there at no charge to the council, no charge to the corporation of the city of Pickering, no charge to the taxpayers. Again, at no charge, we can get a nice piece of artwork just across the road at no charge because of this developer saying that, you know, his grace is gesture to help, because I had mentioned this to him. But instead, Councillor Brenner went and asked our Ward 2 councillor, Councillor Nagy, to go ahead and second the motion to spend the $60,000 instead of saving $60,000. So, you know, I'm gonna stand very, very clear that I'm committed to championing initiatives that enhance our community's culture, its landscape. I mean, I told you I love music, I love the theater, I love art. But what I don't like is this wasteful spending. So therefore, I cannot support this motion today. And I'm glad that you asked for a recorded vote. Because again, we have a developer right across the road who is willing to erect a piece of artwork for us. And I mean, we can tell him, like, what kind of artwork we would like, whether it want to be, just something that has to do with him or something else. I mean, maybe we can involve the community and say, what would you like in the community? What would you like this piece of artwork to look like? But again, it's not going to cost us $60,000. We would be getting this as a gracious gesture from the developer. And I think that's something that, we should be taking advantage of instead of spending all this extra money. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a question to staff. We've referenced Public Art Reserve 8038 today. Does the treasurer or the CEO, how much is in that reserve?
The treasurer can cite the exact amount, but I think it's around $400,000, but maybe he can confirm.
The balance at the end of, I'd have to get an up-to-date projection, but I think the balance is around 400,000 after taking into account planned expenditures for 2023. But I can get a correct number.
How is that reserve funded?
It's funded by contributions of annual surplus. We've put money in after, we as you know, the city is well run financially, and every year we have a surplus. We allocate funds to that reserve, so there's no any direct taxpayer dollars involved.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes, if I might, please. So where does that money come from, though? So you're saying it's a surplus from where? And then we just choose which departments to put it into?
No,
I don't understand that process.
The city operates, every department has its budget, and if they underspend their budget or if revenues come in slightly higher, that contributes to the surplus. For example, you budget for $100 for a purchase of an item that comes in at $95, well, you save $5. So that's how so throughout the year, city staff are very mindful of their budgets. If they're going over one item, they usually have offsetting savings in another item. Because as you know, when you do the budget preparation, lots of times it's 4 or 5 months in advance. You get price quotes, the market's a bit sharper, so you're able to save a bit on purchasing items. Other things could be staff introduce efficiencies or find a better way to spend the funds. And sometimes, rightly or wrongly, the project may or may not be undertaken that year due to many reasons. Could be a staff shortage, could have been other supply chain issues, which we're all familiar with due to COVID. So there's many reasons why. And sometimes, for example,
the answer to the question is it's not directly funded from a budget allocation. It's funded through any surplus. So
right, but what I want to know is surplus from exactly where, because we're getting a surplus from somewhere. I mean, we're not just pulling money out of the air and
No, I think he said surplus from operation as opposed to capital.
Right.
So it's not funded directly from a taxpayer allocation, but it is taxpayers' money that the surplus is coming from, potentially. So
right, so it is taxpayers' money.
Right.
It is taxpayers' money. So in saying that, with this having a surplus right now of 400,000, that's why I said maybe we could take some money out of that and help the homeless. Let's say the $60,000 that this is going to cost, we could do that. Or, Mr. Mayor, if we have this developer erect this piece of artwork, I mean, that $60,000 can be used somewhere else. Or, we wouldn't have to ask for any money in the budget coming up that we're not having any part of, and we wouldn't have to use it. So I think, if we have a chance to have a gracious person say that they will put artwork up for us, we're saving $60,000. And yes, this money does come from the taxpayer.
Okay.
That's where it comes from.
I gave you a second chance and I don't want to
Thank you.
relitigate
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
the Councillor question or debate. Councillor Nagy.
Thank you. Sorry, I was struggling to find my mute button there. I also would like to speak to this as a little bit of kind of responding back to some of the comments. Just as a general kind of something that keeps coming up tonight, and I feel like we should make this very explicitly clear. The city of Pickering does not pay for social services. That's a regional thing. It's the region of Durham that provides funding and support for social services. However, as Councillor Cook said, public art is healthcare. It may not be as obvious, but it truly is. It encourages people to be outdoors. It promotes music. It promotes learning. It promotes opportunity. To touch on other elements, as was rightly had this back and forth, we're not wasting taxpayer dollars. This is money already set aside in this budget for this. The kind of the last two things that I just would like to touch on here is that, one, having a developer erect a piece of artwork within a development complex relegates it to only being for that community, as opposed to serving the larger Pickering community as it would be in a public park. Councillor Robinson is welcome to pursue that initiative. And if we can get something like, if we can get a piece of art there as well, the more the merrier. So happy for that. In return, I also hope that we'd be careful to see what the developer is looking for in return for providing that public art. I also just kind of want to touch on the repeated use of the term the homeless. It reduces those experiencing homelessness to nothing but an identity based on their housing situation, and it's not the best term to use, ideally. And my last point is actually, it's a question to Councillor Robinson. You said that you met with a developer. Are they registered on the registry?
Well, I sure hope they are, because I think Councillor Brenner met with them before me, but thank you very much for bringing it to attention.
Okay.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So
Thank
I
you.
do get a
It's not a
supplementary
third,
question.
no third go around.
That?
This isn't, debate means you offer comments, the next person on, it's not back and forth between us. That's not
I just want to make some clarity, though. I wasn't saying I didn't want to work.
No, this will be the third kick of the cat. We're not doing it. There's a motion duly moved and seconded. Recorded vote is requested by Councillor Brenner. I'm going to call the question. Madam Clerk, do the roll, please.
Councillor Brenner.
Yes.
Councillor Butt.
Yes.
Councillor Cook.
Yes.
Councillor Nagy.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson.
No.
Mayor Ash.
Yes.
Your worship, that's carried 5-1.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, help me with the bylaws.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the bylaws 14.1 to 14.14.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Moved by Councillor Butt, second by Councillor Cook. Bylaws as amended. Madam Clerk, can you clarify the ones amended?
Your worship, it's bylaw 14.2, so it's bylaw 8034, right through to item 14.7, bylaw 8039. Those are all amended.
Okay, and that's the dwelling units bylaw has been amended. So if we're all clear on what the bylaws are, they're duly moved and seconded. Debate? Being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That item is carried. Prior to the regular council meeting, an in-camera session was held at 6 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Act and Procedural Bylaw 80-1923 to consider personal matters pertaining to identified individuals, litigation or potential litigation, and receive advice that is subject to solicitor